Ah, here we go. One of my very, very favorites. And I know I think I've said that about every single thing I've watched so far this year. But trust me, when you see it, you'll understand why. It's one of the very few versions of the Christmas Carol that isn't strictly modernized, that is based in America. So it holds that distinction, but another one is it holds the distinction of just being one of those things that when you hear the idea, you would think, that seems kind of odd. That seems like a lot of strange creative choices. And you, of course, would hear that and think, I wonder if that actually panned out. I wonder if that actually worked.
Thank you, ma'am. Merry Christmas to you.
It's also one of the only, in fact, I think I could say it is the only version of the Christmas Carol which is an adaptation in which it uses entirely original characters in the situations and acknowledges the existence of the Christmas Carol story within its own universe. That is to say, Charles Dickens, in their universe, wrote a story called A Christmas Carol, and in fact, Benedict Slade, the Scrooge character, is aware of its existence and even has it recommended to him and told, that he should read it.
Mr. Thatcher, it means life or death to us. I know.
Now, the granite quarry that they're talking about is a quarry that actually the Slade character has closed down. And this is during the Great Depression. Again, it does take place in America.
Thank you very much, sir.
And this is
Mr. Slade wouldn't be in by any chance.
one of the most interesting and original takes on the story.
Time of year. Payments due, accounts receivable. But if you send him a letter, I'm sure he'd...
Ridiculous, Thatcher. Of course I want to see the orphanage kids. Let them in.
The story was adapted by Jerome Cooper Smith. I always have struggle with that name. It is directed by Eric Till. Now, if you don't know that name, I'm not surprised, but you may know some of his work.
And I'm sure that a holiday gift would not be objected to. Yes, right. I had these printed at my own expense. One for you, and one for you. You're going to learn how the great men of this country, self-made men, did it all on their own. Morgan, Coolidge, Zebulon Pike, climbed that mountain hand over hand, never asked for anything. Thrift, hard work, pay your bills on time, maybe you'll have a mountain of your own someday. Remember, don't rest on your laurels, it breeds decay. Don't dawdle. Bye-bye, thanks for coming.
Now, this is a great setup.
Thank you very much.
And I'll get back to Eric Till in a moment. I haven't forgot what I was talking about. But this is a great setup, because Scrooge actually is looking after these orphanage kids by giving them this. And
He really believes it. So let's all show our appreciation for him, huh?
see, they accept that. He understands. This is the great thing about Slade as a character. Unlike Scrooge, who can come across as just a person who is just completely wrapped up in his own world, Slade actually does believe to a degree in the idea of charity. And he does believe in looking after these kids, and you're going to find out it's because he grew up in the orphanage they are from. But what he sees is, you don't need a handout, you don't need help, you just need hard work. And of course, we see later on that somebody did give him a leg up, and it wasn't just telling him to do it on his own. It was by leading an example, by plucking him up, and not just telling him to pick himself up by the bootstraps, but actually grabbing his own bootstraps and pulling him up as a child to help him stand on his own. Which, listen, hard work and determination, that is important. But a lot of people forget the personal element of charity. That is what it's all about, is helping somebody to stand back up. Not just throwing money at them and telling them to stand up.
No, sir. Eric
Till, yeah, he directed... sorry, I know that was random. I did get off there for a minute. Eric Till was directing up until, I think, 2007, 2008. He directed a great version of The Nutcracker, which is a TV movie. Almost everything that Eric Till directed was TV films. And you're going to see that most of these actors are TV actors. And that's pretty standard for the 70s. A lot of people don't realize this, but most people did not make the transition in the 70s and 80s from TV to movies and back and forth. That didn't happen. It didn't happen in the 50s and 60s much either. You did have the rare exceptions like movie guest stars popping up in I Love Lucy, but that's because, I Love Lucy was an icon. This is pretty sick, too. Look at that. They're taking their wood stove. How else are they going to keep warm? Oh, my gosh. Forgive me, I know I'm talking through my nose a lot, but I got a bit of a cold, so it's not coronavirus, thank God, but I do got a bit of a cold. So Eric Till, he has directed some really great stuff that you probably never even heard of, but you should go check him out. He directed a lot of episodes of Fraggle Rock. That's probably what most people would know him from. And he directed this, of course, which was his most well-known work. And you can see he really knows how to phrase his film grammar, even in these little TV movies. I mean, you saw that shot there, looking through that window, and the little moment that played out between Slade and Thatcher. That was just a beautifully constructed little moment, and it shows the talent that Eric Till has.
Give this to Mr. Jessup. He'll understand.
Yes, sir.
Now, what I was talking about before, about when you hear the idea of this, it does seem a little odd, especially in 1979, for somebody to say, Henry Winkler, Fonzie from Happy Days, is going to be a Scrooge who can, through these subtle little moments, just like you're watching right now, who can bring you to tears. A Scrooge who is every bit as good and subtle and wonderfully elegant in his performance as somebody like Alastair Sim. And I really do believe that. He is, if I was rating them, and I will maybe get around to rating my favorite Scrooges at some point, I would have to rate Henry Winkler as one of my all-time favorites.
Mr. Slade? Well, it would be only natural. Well, place hasn't changed much since you were a boy.
May I remind you, sir, that I lived here for a year.
I bet you remember a lot during that
Little
year.
under a year.
Ball games at Webster Park, chestnuts at holiday meals, and caroling on the
Yes,
streets.
I know.
at
They
Christmas.
came to my office this morning. Now, can we get down to business?
Business? Yes.
The wonderful thing is that even as he was a younger guy when he took on this role, and the age makeup is really good for a TV film, Henry Winkler has always had an older sounding voice, and he really pulls this off well. You would never guess, or at least I would never guess, that he was not an older man. I could tell he's being made to look a little older than he is, but I would never guess that he was as young as he actually was when making this. And Henry Winkler actually said in an interview that I watched that he was nervous about taking this role because he had grown up with Alastair Sim, and he did not think anybody could ever top him. And so he was worried about taking on this role. But you can see he plays him very emotionally. You saw the look on his face just then. He really was torn up about the idea that he was going to do this. But he wanted to nonetheless be consistent and say, okay, I'm not going to let him off. You guys made this alone, This is how it has to be. I have to take it. And you could tell he was very upset. And Henry Winkler plays that so well. He plays... I've always really liked Henry Winkler as an actor. And I think a lot of people, think of him as Fonzie, and they just don't see the talent he has. But my gosh, he's a very good actor. He's very good at playing intention and playing emotion rather than playing an action. Acting an emotion rather than portraying the emotion realistically.
$5,000 for university shop, to me that means sweaters, bow ties, ukuleles.
To me, it means wisdom, Mr. Slade.
With all your wisdom, have you found a way to pay your debt?
Well, not all of it, but you can take all the money I have.
And I will. Plus, you're stuck for liquidation. A scrap paper penny a pound, huh? Better than nothing. Thatcher.
Attachment order, Merrimack County Court.
Is this genuine leather?
It's Morocco.
Yeah, it feels good. Don't be
do
a few
that.
dollars in this after all. Take everything that's leather, we'll rip them apart at the warehouse.
Great Scott. That is so cruel, isn't it?
Oh, not that one, sir. Please. Above all, not that one.
Why not?
Well, it's an original edition of Mr. Charles Dickens. It was given me by my father, who got it from his grandfather, who was a friend of Mr. Dickens. It must be protected.
Oh, Mr. Merivale, you don't need books. You make up wonderful stories by yourself. Don't forget the rest in here.
See, they acknowledge the existence of the story. And I think it's really just wonderful to see this element of their work. I really enjoyed... what a sad rendition of We Wish You a Merry Christmas. Eric Dill was like, I want this to be super ironic, guys. Let's play We Wish You a Merry Christmas. That's the perfect thing to play at as they strip everybody of all their earthly belongings.
Slowly, boys, slowly. This is a wonderful piece of goods.
But I really do love seeing this element of their work. They're not passive. And this is the reason why I liked the animated film that we watched, starring Simon Callow and Nicolas Cage and Kate Winslet, because we see this element of their work, even though in that version, Scrooge is not actually aware of all the damage personally that is being done. And so, he's just handing it off to another person. But in this one, he's directly going into people's homes and taking their stuff.
Are you having some difficulty with your hearing?
It's Christmas, sir. Perhaps... Can we talk a moment, Mr. Slade?
What on earth for?
Well, it's about the town, sir. It's about the times that we're going through.
I know all about the times we're going through, so get to the point.
Well, when there was money to when the quarry was being worked.
Well, that couldn't possibly be the point. The quarry has been closed for a year.
No, that's just the point, sir. Now, the men who work there, now, they've had a wonderful idea, and they've asked me to be the spokesman.
So what?
Well, Mr. Slade, since you own so much of the town, if anybody could open up the quarry again, it'd be you. Well, a man of your means.
Why would I want to open a business that's failed?
Because there's hope for the future in it, sir. Well, in the things that Mr. Roosevelt is doing, new roads, new dams, new public buildings, there's sure to be a need for granite again.
This is a wonderful use of the setting and the time period. And by the way, I do want to just give just a moment of praise to R.H. Thompson, who is just a wonderfully underrated actor. Go look at his filmography. He's been in a ton of stuff. He actually, really recently, he was in Anne with an E. He played Matthew Cuthbert. And
It would be prosperous for you.
he is just such a good actor. And if you look at his
then you wouldn't have
not really filmography, but sort of TVography,
Say it, I wouldn't have to what?
everything
Gun to their heads,
he's been in pretty much
and their lovely
has
houses
been
and leave them in empty
in
houses.
television series
Oh, you
or
really
television movies.
me, don't you, Thatcher?
And gosh,
No, sir.
he's really good. And as this Cratchit character, Thatcher, he's really
Making me out to be some kind of monster.
so
Taking
strong.
what's rightfully mine.
I mean,
Let me tell you something, Thatcher.
he plays the meekness of the character,
Soft as an old shoe is
but
generally
also gives a real dignity and weight to this performance.
always taking the debtor's side. You hold on to those repossession papers like they were stuck to your fingers. And now you're trying to teach me business?
Sir, I only...
You only conspire with a gang of quarry rats to take some money out of me. I don't need to learn business from you. I learned it from the best. Jack Latham, the smartest businessman this state ever knew.
And I keep his portrait, which I repossessed from his family.
He said, Ben, never throw good money after bad. and never pay a man 1 penny more than he's worth. So you go back and you tell your quarry workers that their ranks of the unemployed have just been increased by 1.
This is one of the best versions to ever have Scrooge fire.
See your face anymore, Thatcher.
Oh, he's so good, it's kind of chilling. Like, Henry Winkler may be the most underrated Scrooge ever. And I mean, we talked about some great Scrooges so far who are really, really good. And they get a lot of the praise they deserve. You know, Simon Callow, I mentioned, has played Scrooge and Charles Dickens in multiple productions. But Henry Winkler played him one time in a very underrated production. And I mean, he is so good that there are moments he legit does give me goosebumps. And especially when he's crying at the tombstone at the end. He's one of the only Scrooges I've ever seen cry at that moment. And he's really just throwing his entire all into it. But yeah, to get more to the point, it's really crazy, all the versions where Scrooge fires Cratchit for one reason or another. And I think this is the one that I just believe it totally. A lot of versions, it comes across as very strange, like
Good evening, good evening, good evening.
even in the Reginald Owen film, which is one of my favorite. It's pretty funny to think that Bob Cratchit would just be throwing snowballs at other grown men in the street. That is a really weird choice, and I never quite believed that would really happen. Even though everything afterwards, in regards to Cratchit and his position, is very well done in that production. It is really weird that he's gonna throw a snowball at a grown man. I mean, that would get you put in jail.
Why'd you bring these things home from the office?
Would you excuse me a moment? I'm going to talk to your mother.
Little Jonathan is actually a very good Tiny Tim, even though he's not named Tiny Tim. And I think I've commented before that there are a lot of productions where Tim is the weakling.
We need to talk.
My gosh, but he's tall. I never noticed how tall he was. He's huge. Go, Jonathan. Go to them. Oh, the ending where Jonathan's concerned is very good. It takes its time. I won't talk about it too much until we get there, but it's very well done. Now watch this. It's not until he damages the book that stuff starts happening to him.
Darkness is cheap, and he liked it. But before he shut the heavy door, he walked through the rooms to see that all was all right. Sitting room, bedroom, lumber room, all as they should be. Then there was a clanking noise deep down below, as if some person were dragging a heavy chain over the casks in the cellar. He remembered that ghosts in haunted houses were described as dragging chains. Claptrap.
You know what? I know that it is a cliche, but there are cliches that are very good. And one of my favorite cliches is lightning and thunder just rolling in at a moment that is emotionally, calling for something like that. As if God himself is having a moment of judgment upon a character. I find that to be a cliche that I just really love. It's another cliche is characters running around in capes or really long cloaks or jackets. I really like that too.
Operator, this is an emergency. I'm Benedict Slade, 429 Front Street. I seem to have lost all of my power in my warehouse. Operator?
I also get the impression that Scrooge lives in his warehouse. I'm not entirely sure whether or not I'm correct about that, but it's the impression I get from watching this every time I watch it. And I really like that idea. I think that's really cool that, like, he is so engulfed in his business that he even lives at his business. Gosh, that makeup looks really good, doesn't it? Especially in the harshest of light. It looks quite good. I really enjoy the build-up of this. They didn't have to go through the amount of work to build up this scene to be as scary as it is. Everything, the camera angles, the lighting, the fact that it drags on, it really lets the suspense build. It doesn't rush it. And you would think in a television movie of 1979 that they would rush it a little bit. Sorry, I'll pause that thought. Yes! Badass!
All right, come out this minute.
This is the thing I needed in my life.
I know someone's
I
here.
need a Scrooge with a gun.
I've got a gun.
Because listen, it's an American Christmas Carol. Of course Scrooge would have a gun in an American Christmas Carol.
You wouldn't shoot your old partner, would you?
Wonderful framing. Just to remind us, just make sure that we have not forgotten who he is. That's so good.
Who are you?
You know damn well who I am.
I know who you want me to think you are.
You're on the right track.
He's dead.
Right again?
Oh, there's some trick being played here. And I know what it is.
Shrewd as ever, eh, Ben?
Makeup. It took 6 pounds of powder and paint to make that actor look like Frankenstein. That's what they said in the paper. And that's what you used, makeup, to make yourself look like Latham, Mr. Whoever you are.
Then if I'm
That's
not Latham, I
something,
wouldn't know
sadly,
things
that
over
we've
you and
lost with CGI. Was, you know, the idea that in the 1930s and 40s, you know, with actors like Lon Chaney are excellent makeup artists at Universal Studios, just the idea that anything could be done with makeup.
Jack?
Now, Latham is the Marley character, obviously. And I really like the way they portray him without having to go the chains and safes, you know, attached to him route.
That is 2 states. I'm in the larger one.
But you don't look,
Hell's not what you think it is. Fire, sulfur, devils with pitchforks, none of that.
Thank God.
It's worse. It's living in all your past all the time. Forever. There's a politician who sits in a room with all his speeches blaring at the same time. No earplugs either. And a king who has to keep staring at the faces of many sent to war.
But you're a businessman, a very good one. You drive a hard bargain, but you've never done anything evil.
Evil's not just what you do. It's what you don't do. Each day, each man has 1,000 chances.
This is really,
They're missed forever.
really powerful.
On the ground. But you can still make changes, Ben. And I'm going to help you.
Don't go out of your way for me there, Jack.
You're going to get 3 more visitations.
Oh,
Ghosts?
Oh, that storybook talk. I think of them as conductors on the Boston Main Line. You better go where they take
This really is so good because it takes full advantage of the way people would have acted and talked and thought at this point in time. And that's one of the things that makes it work. If you had showed this to somebody during the Depression, you know, in black and white,
Don't leave me now, Jack. I've got a million questions.
they would have really felt the
Where are you?
power of this just like we do today. Maybe more. Maybe it would have even been more relevant had it come out in the time when... oh, jeez Louise. I've never seen any other human being do that. So most people would do that with their hands, but he does it with his foot. Yeah, maybe even more.
Just a slight touch of indigestion, that's all. It's too quiet in here, that's the problem.
He is so good, and the way he plays these scenes is so good.
Ladies and gentlemen, as reported earlier, the stock market has taken a severe plunge, and investors seem convinced that the market is headed for certain disaster. We are standing by for a statement from President Hoover. He will speak to the nation on the state of the American economy.
Roosevelt.
Our microphones are set up in the Oval Office of the White House, where Mr. Hoover is about to begin his address. Sources close to the White House say that Mr. Hoover will attempt to convince the American...
Now, did you notice that he is... The guy on the radio is talking about events from the past.
Listen to that crowd! And who can blame them on this glorious day of 1927 when Charles A. Lindbergh has become the first man to fly the Atlantic Ocean?
That was 6 years ago.
Have waited for hours to greet the
Everybody lost their mind.
theater with the warmest welcome afforded an American since...
This is really, really just so much fun. They take so much advantage of the fun things that they can do. A lot of versions of Scrooge they're doing weird stuff and they don't take advantage of all the fun they can have with it. Whether they don't take advantage of that or whether they don't take advantage of how dark they can go with it. There's so many options. This is a story that was made, literally created by its creator with the intention that it would be remixed and revamped and redone and re-edited and retold for generations to come.
I played a trumpet in a war a long time ago. You should have seen those walls come down.
How'd you get in here?
You make it sound as if I'd been away. The past is always nearby, especially here.
I suppose you're going to tell me now that you are the spirit of Christmas past?
You said it, not I.
All of the ghosts are actually people from Scrooge's real waking
I know
life.
who you are. So why don't you just go back to your little silly bookstore, Maryville?
Not much of a bookstore anymore.
I said get out. Outside.
All right. Outside.
What are you doing? What's going on here?
Had enough?
Yes, I've had enough. Thank you very much. Get me back inside.
Sorry to be so dramatic, but you did bring it on yourself.
Jack said visitation's not freezing to death. What is it you want?
The past wants only to be remembered.
I remember the past very well without your help. Thank you.
Do you remember it? Really? Or just those parts you pick out for yourself?
Now we're going to go back and see Slade as an orphan himself. And when he was, again, as I say, plucked out of the orphanage and given a chance at the life that he has achieved. And it wasn't purely through his own actions, it was through the generosity and love and compassion showed to him. Actions which, you're going to see, he himself admits he did not deserve the grace that he was given.
They're the best of the lot, Mr. Brewster. Well-behaved, intelligent, deserving.
That's excellent, Mrs. Tidings, excellent. Of course, whoever we choose for our apprentice will have to be able to learn the business from the ground up.
Oh, I'm sure every one of these...
Did you see Henry Winkler pick a fleck of dust off of Brewster's shoulder? That was a beautifully little subtle moment. And you know, I would be willing to bet that was probably improvised.
He hasn't been here very long. When his parents died, he was passed around among aunts and uncles. Then they turned him over to us.
So skinny. Why didn't you feed me better?
How is he with his hands?
He fights a lot.
Has he ever used tools?
No. More from anger than skill.
Remember, we saw her photo, or not her photo, but her painting on the wall when Slade walked in, and he acted very strange looking at it.
Excuse me, Mrs. Tidings. I'd much rather do something for someone who needs rather than someone who just wants. Please bring him over to us, would you?
See, now that is the Christmas spirit. I'd rather do something for somebody who needs it, rather than somebody who just wants it. That is, really and truly, that is the Christmas spirit.
Looks like Mrs. Tidings convinced you.
Yes, she always had a way with boys.
Oh, man. Amazing what you could get away with back in 1979, huh?
Thank you, Roy.
Don't worry, I just beat him within an inch of his life. You can take him now.
Don't keep him here too long, Nathaniel. Remember, dinner is 5 o'clock sharp.
We'll be there.
This is a very important and very beautiful little moment that we're about to witness.
Your job will be to look after pieces of machinery like that. Keep them clean, keep them oiled. Of course, you'd have to dust off all the furniture back there in the showroom, too. And let's see, what else?
Brewster just has this mad confidence that Slade can do anything. He sees it in him, even though Slade can't see it in himself yet.
See what it is they do and how they do it. Before you know it, you might have a bench of your own. Do you think you'd like that?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? You imbecile, anybody can see this is a thriving business.
One of the best things about this production is that it didn't try to stick close to the original. It took its own path. It chose its own unique story to tell using just the bare bones elements of A Christmas Carol.
That must have been very rough on you, Ben. Very painful for you, losing your parents like that. Them being shifted around from relative to relative. Every time you start feeling close to someone, they move you on, huh? I guess after a while, it just seems better not to get too close to anyone. And it doesn't hurt so badly when you have to leave.
How could he look inside me like that? How do you know how I felt?
If you want to be my apprentice, you can move right in with my family and you'll never have to move until you want to.
I want to leave now.
Well, that's up to you. Do you know what that is?
Sure I do. It's a stick.
A stick? Is that all you see here? Is it? Oh, you're not as bright as I thought you were.
Keep all this dialogue in mind.
That could be a magician's wand for doing tricks. Or it could be the handle of a whip for taming wild lions. I could make that into the spoke of a ship's wheel that can lead you to all kinds of new lands and new adventures. I could even carve that into a flute. Then I could play it to charm all those folks in old Hamlin Town. Here, that can be anything you want it to be. Unless, of course, you're too dumb to see anything but a stick there.
So one of the wonderful things about Brewster is you can see slowly throughout the scene as he realizes how he has to talk to young Slade. He feels him out until he gets an idea of who he is and what he is so that he can learn how to speak to him, how to communicate, how to mold him into something better. And we're going to revisit this location again, but I do want to point out and just let you know to also keep in mind That little bit of dialogue he had there, where he was telling Slade, I know how you feel. You feel like it's better not to get close to anybody because you'll lose everyone. And Scrooge was finally feeling, as he grew from this point on, sorry, I said Scrooge, Slade was finally feeling, as he grew from this point on, that he could, let people get close to him again. He could start learning to have a family, to have relations and relationships.
I've almost forgotten how beautiful she was.
There's quite a lot you've forgotten.
And now this is probably my favorite part about casting a younger man to play Scrooge, is that you can have the young Scrooge and the old Scrooge be perfect matches of each other.
Do you know what he said to me, Ben?
And really the only way you can do that, unless you're gonna, use that creepy de-aging stuff, creepy de-aging CGI that's becoming more and more popular, is to cast a younger actor who can act like an old actor and be convincing. And Henry Winkler is just perfect for that.
Nature. Do you like nature, Ben?
Yeah.
Would you like to get really close to it? I mean really close.
Oh, whoa.
Would you?
Yeah?
Good!
Oh, man.
You're gonna pay for that.
No, I'm being silly, but in all honesty, this is so romantic. It's so cute and sweet. It's great to see the Belle character, in this one I believe her name is Helen, it's great to see them just have a moment.
See, don't underestimate me, Helen.
A moment to just,
I told him.
get close.
No finishing school for me.
So many versions, the first time we meet her, they're dancing and she says nothing, and in the next scene, they're, breaking up, and we don't really get a chance to know her. These two also have great chemistry. Great little details too, like that unfinished chair being still sitting out there at the middle of the Christmas party here, so that you can still be, using it as a seat, even though it's not done. That's the sort of things, little things that make a world live and breathe. The little chicken dance is really cute. I don't know what the hell it's called or why they're doing it, but it's really cute. Just little chickens pecking each other on the cheek. I kind of dig that dance. I need to do that dance more often. Gotta find somebody to do that dance with me first. So if you notice, there's not a lot of people in this scene, and yet they film it in a way that looks like it's quite a big party. They actually use their coverage very well to make a few extras into a party.
Well, I'm sure after all that you really want to get your breath back, so we're going to give out some gifts.
Oh, Sam Perkins.
Sam Perkins.
Hey.
There's a message, Sam.
What every foreman needs at home.
Essie. Where is Essie? Ah, thank you.
Thank you, Miss Brewster. Thank you very much.
What in the world have we here? To the Brewster family and all their employees, the future. Let's find out. I guess just cut in and hope for the best. Huh? Well, hope I'm not damaging whatever it is. Stapleton Furniture Company, Grand Rapids, Michigan. I guess the joke's on me.
That's not a joke, Mr. Brewster.
What, did you bring this, Ben?
Yes, sir, I did.
What?
I believe that chair is the future, and I think it can help us all if we're smart enough to use it.
How?
That chair is not made the same way that we make ours. It's made on the assembly line. That's right, that's right. They're starting to use the assembly line now in furniture. Some fellow puts on one part, another fellow puts on another. They're all made by machinery. They can sell that chair for 1/2 the price of one that we put out.
Yeah, but look how it's made. Nails instead of pegs. Bad fittings all sloshed with glue to keep them together. You call that a chair?
This is a wonderful, wonderful little bit of commentary, because it's true. This is exactly how this sort of industrialization happened.
No, when the day of quality ends in this country, we'll all be in great trouble indeed.
My gosh.
What did you get in your gift there?
And see, this was a Christmas of great embarrassment for him, because he felt like his idea was being shafted. But in reality, we all know now he was absolutely correct in that.
Ben, that wasn't very polite.
Go inside, Helen. It's raining.
So they disagreed with you. Is that such a terrible thing?
You think I'm angry because he disagreed with me? That's not it, Helen. That's not it at all. I'm sorry for your father. I feel sorry for everyone that works for him. They're going to be passed by, and that's what I don't want to happen.
See, this is all coming from a place of compassion. He doesn't want people to end up unemployed. He doesn't want people to end up losing their jobs, and his family, of course, to lose their business. Which, of course, is what will inevitably happen, because they are clinging to the quality. And what he doesn't realize is Slade is absolutely right.
This afternoon was a smart aleck act, and I deeply apologize.
Oh, Ben, that's all right. I know you meant well.
I still do, sir. Whether you like it or not, mass production is coming, and in order to survive, you've got to start thinking about it.
Well, I never will, Ben. I never could.
See, the truth is, it is correct. We know, everybody knows this. And even Brewster admits, yeah, you know, it probably will get passed by. It probably will be the case.
I have something to say to you. All of you. The day you came into the orphanage, you saved my life, and I will never, ever forget that. Even when I leave here.
Are you going somewhere?
Well, say it, Ben. Whatever it is, just get it out.
Ed Stapleton, the man that sent the chair, offered me a job with his company in the sales division. It's not a very big job. I know that I can work myself up.
And right here is his first mistake.
I think we need some more sweet potatoes.
Trading the first real family that he has had for what inevitably is just the pursuit of wealth.
You right now talking to me about babies and rings, and all the time knowing you were going.
I didn't know until tonight.
Well, you must have been thinking about it. Why didn't you say something to me?
Because I was hoping I was going to change my mind. I didn't want to hurt you. I love you very much.
Then take me with you.
I can't.
Why not?
Because I'm starting low out there. I'm at the bottom rung of the ladder, and I don't even have to get enough to get myself by.
Do you think that matters to me? I don't mind sacrificing.
I know I mind that you sacrifice. I'll call you as soon as I'm ready, I promise.
Now see, because we have this extra build-up, this extra time to get to know them, and develop the reasons why he is afraid of poverty and why he doesn't want to just take her out and marry her, it is much more sympathetic, and we do actually understand where he's coming from on this. It's not just an abstract fear of poverty that is keeping him from taking and marrying his sweetheart.
I guess that means
in this case, he's leaving and going to a brand new place, starting at the bottom rung of a ladder, and he knows that he can't support her and himself.
Are you rested now?
I will be after a good night's sleep.
It does ultimately come
I'm not sure I'm not sleeping
to the fact that he chose the pursuit of wealth and gain over what was really the most important. And even at the time, he knew was the most important because he grew up without a family, the first real family he ever had. Which is not to say that leaving your family is always a bad idea, but he's trading in his entire family and the love of his life just for an abstract gain that may or may not even come. It's not working his way up through Fezziwig or starting his own business with Marley the way it is in the original.
Be accounted for. Each. We keep very careful inventory, as you do.
Ah, an American flag-themed Christmas. My favorite kind. Not really. I love America. But they normally keep 4th of July and Christmas very separate. Oh yeah, he's got a stash now. Look at that. Look at that thing. What a stash. And they do such a good job with the aging. They do it subtly. You know, they don't overdo it. But that is one of the great things about it. Even Brewster is just balding, you know. That's one of the wonderful things I can say about this is that the makeup is just wonderful. For a TV movie in 1979, mad respect. Mad respect.
We'll be open till midnight, so let's try and reach our goal of $25,000.
Miss Brewster! Miss Brewster, I have in my hand $850. You've reached $25,000.
Well, here it is.
I also love the attention to detail. Everybody looks, in every scene, in every moment of the past and present,
Looking well, Ben.
and the future as well, everybody looks so period accurate. Far more so than they really needed to do for a TV film.
You know, it's amazing. I thought about everything that I was going to say to you when I first saw you. And all I can come up with is Tandy.
My dog.
You wrote that he was in a terrible accident. Did he recover?
Oh, yes, perfectly. That was 4 years ago, Ben.
Oh, man.
I really am sorry.
No need to be. I'm not even sure who stopped writing first.
Ben, very nice to see you.
Mr. Brewster.
Well, you're certainly looking yet older, I know, but no wiser. I've had 2 heart attacks and I still haven't the sense to quit.
They were mild and gentle.
All right.
You know, there's a way of taking it easy and still staying in business.
Oh, we're easing up all right, Ben. The men are going off to war, and their families are spending their money on bombs. There's not that much left over for furniture.
It doesn't matter nowadays. There's a brand new way of selling. It even works on people who don't have the price.
What's it called? St. Patrick's Miracle?
Time payments.
Time payment.
Ah.
That's very interesting. It's nice to see you.
Exactly what Slade would make his fortune doing. I also love any version that gives Marley, or in this case Latham, a little extra time.
They smell it. They sense it. Especially when you're on the move. On the rise. That's why I'm leaving the Stapleton firm.
I thought you were doing so well there.
I was. Until I ran smack into the Stapleton nephews. They have a saying, you know. You don't move any further unless you're related. So I'll find another mountain to climb.
See, he just keeps
Here in Concord?
going from one place to another.
Very possible. I'd love to see you home.
All right.
Mr. Slade. Jack Latham, Investments in Real Estate. How do you do, sir? I was interested in what you were saying before about that new way of selling. Could we talk sometime?
I look forward to the opportunity. I was told that you'd be here at this point.
Come see me just after Christmas.
I'll check my calendar. Thank you.
The guy who plays Jack Latham, I think his name is Ken Pogg, with a UE at the end.
I could always smell a good business deal.
And
So could Latham.
he's got such beautiful eyes. A little bit like Gene Wilder. Very, very sparkly eyes. What a beautiful car, huh?
There it is. Sometimes I find myself daydreaming about...
Ben, there's something I want to say to you. You keep saying how nothing's changed and everything's the same. Well, we're not the same. We have changed. And if you stay, we're gonna have to get to know each other all over again.
I totally agree with you. And as a matter of fact, I think we could start right now.
What's that?
A lathe.
It is. But nobody's supposed to be in there.
All right. All right, you stay right here. I'll be right back.
I'm going with you.
Helen, please.
I'm going with you, Ben.
See, everything is still the same.
The chemistry between these two is great, I did mention, but the writing, it can't be understated. How good the writing is for a TV movie in the 1970s. And if you've seen many TV movies in the 1970s, I honestly think it was very underrated, some of the writing that you got back then.
Hold your ground.
Ben Slade?
I would smack you with a board.
Good evening, Sam.
Must be 10 years at least. Now you scared me to death.
You're not the only one. What are you doing so late here on a Christmas Eve?
Just catching up on a bit of work.
Does my father know you're here?
Oh, he'd never allow it. But has to be done now that half our people are gone.
I appreciate what you're doing, Sam, but I want you to stop right now and go home to your family.
Yes, and I agree.
Just 15 minutes more. I promise.
You're too good to us, Sam.
Do you need a hand?
For a couple of table legs? Get out of here.
Very good to see you.
Good night, Sam.
Bye, Ben. Bye, Helen.
Merry Christmas, Sam.
I probably have not been offering as much commentary to this one as I have with some of the others. But the truth is that there just is so much wealth and richness to the way it's written. It really, really holds up very well. I mean, that was a really great transition from the cause to the effect.
Oh, my God. Sorry, Mr. Brister. Lucky your man came out alive.
What? There was someone in there?
Sam Perkins. He'll be all right. Minor burns. We took him to the hospital.
Was he? What?
The poor man, he doesn't deserve it.
You're looking a little pale, Mr. Slade. Something wrong?
Take me back to my warehouse. I don't want to see anymore.
You're going to have to, just the same.
Remember, he said he's had 2 heart attacks already. because of the stress of his business.
I'll get those figures written up for you as soon as possible, then, Jack.
Oh, there's no hurry.
Well, there is for me.
Ben.
What a great suit. My gosh, look at that plaid.
Well, I'm such a smart businessman, Ben, that I went and let the insurance policy lapse. Can you believe that? Well, we'll get the old place rebuilt again someday with luck and help of good friends.
Take care of yourself, okay?
Always, always.
Come on in.
Nice to see you.
May I help you? Are you all right?
Yes. Yes, I'm fine.
Oh, man.
Time payments are
That hurts my heart,
Add all the
just to
installments.
watch. Oh,
He'll make
gosh.
a down payment of maybe 10%. It goes home with the product. Pays it off a little each month plus interest for about a year or two. By the time he's finished, you've got 150% of the purchase price.
What happens if he can't make the payments?
If he's working, you attach a salary. If not, repossess it, take it back, sell it again. It's not unheard of that you can get 200% of the list price.
This is so well done. The construction is so well done because, I know I've said this several times, but it takes full advantage of everything that can be done with this setup in America in this time period, showing the rise of corporatism and the way greed has destroyed the quality of the products that consumers can get.
He's a wonderful man, and I owe him a lot. But he's been doing the same thing for 40 years. He won't even look at a new idea. And I sincerely believe that he wasn't doing that well before his loss.
Told me he was climbing back.
Not to overstep my bounds, but if it were my money to invest, and I had the choice between the rigid old and the innovative new, there would be no contest.
That is, just an utter and complete betrayal of everything that Brewster has done for him. And of course, ultimately, perhaps in a completely preventable way, Brewster is put into a shallow grave, literally, because of the fact that there's just no way in that economy trying to climb back with literally nothing back to what he had would have just been impossible, and he knew that. I know. Black umbrellas standing out in the rain during a funeral. It's a cliche of a cliche of a cliche, but I just don't care. I'm just not one of those people who just wants to criticize everything and nitpick it to death. To me, they're just cliches that work, and the reason why we keep reusing them over and over is because they work. They are good, strong visuals. And there's something about... You're already seeing people in black. Just add that extra...
If I am lying, then let my eternal soul be damned.
Wow. My gosh. And again, bringing back around that thunder. That just extra little bit, almost like God himself is judging Slade for what he has done. Beautiful. And, the fact that she left because she felt that he was responsible for her father's death after already having waited years and years and years for him. Wow, that is just so powerful. And I would say in some ways it's even more powerful than the romance and in the original novel by Charles Dickens, because it leaves us with this really just stale, sad taste in our mouths when the scene is over. Because these are things that can never be fixed. I mean, there is a reason why some versions, like the 2001 animated film, actually do redeem the relationship he has with Belle. It's because it's not something that would have been beyond fixing. And in fact, the sadness of the book is that he could have fixed it and just lacked the will or the presence of mind or whatever to actually go and do it. To actually go and fix it. To go after Belle and stop her from leaving.
This has worked for 2,000 years. It's working now.
I suppose you're going to tell me that you're some great spirit of the Christmas present.
You do have an interesting way of putting things.
Yes, well then you put it right out of your mind. Because I don't know how you got in here, but you're not going to leave with my piano, repossessed by court order. It belonged to me.
Then you're entitled to the music you like best. Do you have any favorite selections?
Yes, I do. My privacy, which I shall enforce by calling the police. I tell you something. I'm going to close my eyes for 15 seconds, and when I open them, you best be.
That was the quickest 15 seconds of my life. I don't know about you. I mean, my gosh, I felt almost like I skipped over it. I kid. I really do love this scene. I think it's really well done. I think I may have already said this, but I love the casting of the ghosts. That they're all people from his life. That they're all people who, in a way, it's sort of like what that movie Collateral Beauty was trying to do, except I'm not going to comment on it. This is very, very good. I'll just leave it at that. Strangely enough, I actually like the moments where Slade is alone better than the moments where any other Scrooge is alone. Because you do get, those moments where he's like talking to himself or whatever. But I think that this film really does just allow the subtlety of what the actors and the writers and the scene's context can pervade and portray much better than the person monologuing to himself in a room where he's alone. Which, of course, is always the temptation. I also want to mention that the transitions are just wonderful. There's been 2 or 3 transitions in this film that are just miles and miles above what most TV movies would be.
No, it's impossible.
She should look familiar, Mr. Slade, like mother, like daughter, they say.
That's Helen's child.
I love any version that adds in this sort of scene where we see Slade getting to see what his love, his long-lost love, is up to in the present.
Too, as you can see for yourself.
Oh, she's lovelier than ever.
A woman fulfilled is always beautiful.
Oh, that's wonderful. Did you hear that? He said, looking at her as an old woman, she is more beautiful than ever. And the Ghost of Christmas Present says, a woman fulfilled is always beautiful. And Slade almost doesn't want to leave. Because, without having to overstate it,
I could have had a child like that. If only things were different.
If that word can be found on dry river beds and on trails long overgrown by weeds, what's more important are the paths we follow now.
Now, notice what he just said.
I know this place.
Notice what he just said and the location that he stated, because it's going to come back in an incredibly subtle way.
Swore my employee over his desk.
Your former employee, remember?
He deserved to be fired. Disagrees with everything I do. Conspires with others to pull money out of me. Who needs someone like that around?
There are 3 in here who do.
Mom, Dad, please tell us what's wrong.
Nothing's wrong, dear.
And I don't want us to feel bad. When it's worse just trying to guess. We make up all kinds of things.
My goodness, can't your father and I have a secret without the world coming to an end?
To radio station WBZ in Boston. We continue now our concert of marches for this Christmas Eve.
I lost my job today.
Is that all? We thought it was something worse. That you killed somebody with an axe and we're going to be hung.
There's someone I'd like to kill with an axe.
Now, you don't mean that, Doris.
This is always something that has bothered me, is that there are some versions where they take, and this is the one thing I can really say against this, is, oh my gosh, sometimes they just take Mrs. Cratchit's little outburst, which is supposed to be kind of funny and amusing, and of course Charles Dickens, I've mentioned this before, that
My only problem is, do I take it?
Charles Dickens always wrote his female characters as very strong, willful individuals. Oh, look at Thatcher. He's such a good dad, and he's such a good Bob Cratchit too, isn't he? But some versions, she just takes it so far that it's such a nasty thing to say in front of your children, and especially such a nasty thing to undercut your husband's words with, that I have to wonder why you would say it. Like, the idea of saying in front of your kids that there's somebody that you want to kill with an axe. Why would you ever say that?
If you don't get another job, will we starve to death?
Oh gosh, my gracious. See, that's so deep. I do love Thatcher, though, just trying to cheer up his kids, you know. But he's honest with them. I mean, that's another great thing, is he's just honest, and he tells them this is the situation, guys. It wouldn't have ever done any good to lie to him about it. Oh man, that was back in the days when kids had to worry about starving to death. Now they just have to worry about getting flagged for hate speech on Twitter.
The boy, was he in an accident?
Kids had it so much better back then. I also love that because they go in a completely new direction with all of this, and the characters are so good and so well developed and well rounded, that we're so interested in the story that we actually don't have a lot of Scrooge and the ghosts interfering, talking over people or having those moments, because the story by itself is interesting enough to hold our attention. We want to hear what they're saying. We want to hear what they're going through. And we don't necessarily need to be reminded constantly that this is a vision of the past, or the present, or whatever, that we're not supposed to be witnessing, but we're seeing through the eyes of this Scrooge character. In this case, the story is just so interesting, it's almost like a story that's told out of order. Something sort of like Rashomon.
It'll be. You'll find... Jonathan, are you all right?
I'm okay.
He gets out of breath so easily.
I have some extra inhalers if he'd like to use those. I mean, it might help him if he's getting out of breath.
And so will I.
It's funny because I'm asthmatic. I'm trying to break up the tension a little bit here because the scene is so sad and so tense. But it really is so good. It really is just so well written.
What's that? The little boy. Does he live or die?
Is that important to you?
Yes, it's important.
The future's a tricky place, full of shadows, shifting and changing, as present realities do.
Do you see these shadows?
As well as most and better than some.
And what do they say to you?
Next Christmas, I see a pair of crutches in the corner, carefully preserved. At this table, family, mother, father, little girl. Between them, there's an empty chair.
idea, Thatcher. I just didn't know.
See, again, so subtle. They don't need a lot. They just play the emotion exactly for what it is. And they don't need to overstate the point too much or go too far with it. I just can't get over how well some of these scenes are constructed. This is really, that moment with Cratchit, or Thatcher, is really second only to the Bob Zemeckis, Jim Carrey film, where Bob is walking up the stairs, and as soon as he's out of view of his family, his face just drops, and he's inches away from Scrooge's face. Really, that is second only to that. It's very, very powerful just to hear him sit down and just say, I didn't know. I'm sorry, I just didn't know.
And who will replace you, Mr. Slade?
Now this does get to the only thing that dates the movie. Funny enough, nothing else dates this film.
Hold your ground. You can have the radio back. It's okay. Take it back to the farm free of charge.
Do I look like a farmer to you?
No. No, you are modern.
Modern?
More than modern. More than modern. Future. You're the spirit of Christmas future?
You know,
I like that he's dressed in like a very 70s style. And actually, you know, I did say it dated it, and it does to a degree, but it actually also sort of makes it timeless. Because rather than giving him generically futuristic clothes, they give him clothes that would have been modern at the time that the film was being made. But even though it's in the past to us, in this timeline of the story, the 70s is still in the future from the 30s. I feel like I just talked in a big circle, but I think you'd get what I'm saying.
15 cents, I got 15 cents here.
25.
25 is the bid. 30 cents, 30
40.
cents. Any advance on 40 cents is my bid here. For these bronze bookends. 40 cents. 50 cents.
55.
55, do I hear 60? Do I hear 65?
I beg your pardon. Who are all of these people, and what are you doing on my property?
It's all quite legal, I assure you.
This is also the only adaptation of A Christmas Carol where the ghost of Christmas Yet to Come talks, which I really enjoy. Saving only, as the rare exception, the Mickey Mouse Christmas Carol. Just because Pete is hilarious. Any other version where he talks is normally not something I'm going to enjoy, because I love the mysterious atmosphere, the mystique surrounding the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. I really love it.
Are they crazy? This is quality merchandise. Very much like my own possessions. I bid $500, not a penny less.
He can't hear you.
$1,000 worth every bit.
No bids.
This is great. Look at the tears in Henry Winkler's eyes. This, and there's even a sign right above them that says Slade and Latham. There is no way he does not understand what is going on. And this is played by Henry Winkler as a man who realizes what's going on, but is in complete denial. It's too horrible. It's too horrible to accept. All of these things that I've spent my life building up around me, thinking that they were worth something, nobody else thinks they're worth anything.
Who do you think this person is?
You can't guess.
And now he just sees all of these possessions that, again, he has surrounded himself with as a way of filling up this great empty space, both within himself and without himself. And it's ultimately worth nothing.
$75, that's the way to go. That's up to $75 now. We have an $85 bid for the lady. $100 is bid.
Now, these prices are beginning to make sense.
$100 once, $100 twice. Any more? Sold for $100.
Now look what he has just been tricked into applauding.
That's me! What are you doing? What are you, crazy? Shut up!
See, it's too much. It's something he can't deny. It's a denial he can't accept. In some versions, it is really truly bizarre that he cannot figure out what is going on. That's one of the things I really enjoy about the Bob Zemeckis film, is that when he sees the man laying in the bed, he verbally acknowledges, okay, I get it. The fate of this person could be my fate. Can we please go somewhere else? Like, it's very discomforting, but he realizes what's happening.
My little Mr. T.
Hard to believe that a year's gone by since he left us.
That boy.
That shouldn't surprise you. Life is cause and effect, and you were certainly no stranger to the cause.
That hasn't happened yet. That is not real.
The grief of those people is real.
I don't think I've mentioned it yet, but this gentleman who is playing the Ghost of Christmas Future may look familiar to you, especially if, like me, you're a big Stanley Kubrick fan. He was the actor who played 8-Ball in the movie Full Metal Jacket. That is if you're looking at him and thinking, man, he looks familiar, that is where you know him from.
We know there's going to be other partings among us. A marriage, long voyages, even death again. But when someone is remembered with love, their spirit never really dies. So instead of looking for someone to blame, let's make a promise to each other that no matter where we find ourselves in years to come, together or apart, we will always remember little Jonathan. You promise?
That was beautiful. I know I've said this already, but R.H. Thompson, he's just such an underrated actor. And the musical choices. I know I made fun of, the obvious irony of We Wish You a Merry Christmas, but the musical choices throughout this film are really great.
I assure you, if I had known, things could have been different. Perhaps the possibility exists that it could be different. Is that possible?
That's not for me to say. We better go now.
Check this out.
Wait. There is something about this place. Something that draws me right to it. The monument looks fairly new and yet neglected.
And no one visits that grave.
Not ever?
Not ever.
Notice the location. What I told you.
To lie in a grave. Unloved and unremembered. It's as if the life was never lived.
That is the only real death.
Such a great moment, because we just heard Thatcher say that when a person is remembered and loved, then their spirit doesn't die. But when the person lays in a grave, unloved and unremembered for all eternity, then that is the only true death. That it's not the fact that he will die. Slade knows he's going to die someday. It's the fact that he made no difference. His life was as useful as if it had never even been lived. This is just such a powerful moment. I'm going to be quiet so you can hear it.
Tell me that this can change. I don't want to lie here in a grave, unremembered and unloved forever.
Please tell me it could change. I'm willing to make a change.
It's time to go, Mr. Slade. You've seen the future.
I'm willing to make a change. I want it to happen differently.
Oh man, I mean, I've got goosebumps. That is so simply and beautifully written. I know I keep saying it, but you can't be overstated. That, ironically, it can't be overstated that not overstating something is the most powerful way to get it across when you're dealing with fiction. Not with commentaries, of course, because I'm going to overstate everything. But it's beautiful that they don't take it too far. They leave it very simple. Tell me this can change. I'm willing to make a change. It almost makes me cry when I hear him say, I want it to happen differently. I want it to have happened differently. How many moments in your life, I can name a million in my life, that I think of and it brings me to the verge of tears thinking, I wish I could make it have happened differently. It's so relatable that it's like a knife through the heart. It's so honest and so simple and so beautiful.
There's still time. There's still time.
I love the way this whole entire scene is done. He loads up the truck. He doesn't do the turkey thing like he does in the book. He just goes out and does it all himself. Because that's what A Christmas Carol ultimately, of course, is about. It's about personal responsibility. It's not even really about Christmas. It's about taking personal responsibility. You can't just give all this money to the government and expect that they're going to do a good job of it and expect that welfare is going to be enough. You have a personal responsibility to take care of your neighbor.
Merry Christmas to you, sir. What are you doing here?
I'm working, of course. What are you doing? You're taking the whole day off, regardless of all the work that has to be done?
But I'm not your employee anymore, sir.
Don't you tell me who you are. I know more about you than you could possibly dream. Now go out to the truck and get what I've got for you. Come on. Come on. You and I have a very important business discussion.
What business?
What's on the menu for today's dinner?
Chicken, carrots, vegetables.
How big's your chicken?
5 pounds.
5 pounds. You call that a holiday chicken? Now you try this. Put this in the oven. If it fits, if it doesn't, cook it twice.
That's a great line. Did you hear that? You put this in the oven and cook it. If it doesn't fit in the oven, then cook it twice.
And to find out who they're for, you just look for the name on top of the box.
For Daddy.
Yes.
For Mommy.
And she doesn't actually mean that, Thatcher's name is written on it. It literally says the word Daddy and Mommy on it. No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
For me, thank you. Poor Thatcher does not know what to make of any of this. He almost has this look. It's so subtle, but Thompson just has this great look of, what is this? Is this some sort of prank? What is this all leading to? Where's the punchline?
I'm looking for Jonathan. How could that be? Sorry.
Check this out. This is great. He fakes him out, which is expected.
Possibly be here. It's not very large.
But, I mean, when you hear this, when you start tallying up how much all of this stuff has cost him, I mean, this is quite an impressive Christmas gift.
I'd like to ride on a bus. You do?
It's probably the most expensive Christmas gift Slade has ever given in his life.
To Boston. You like to ride on a train? Here's a ticket from Boston to Chicago. From Chicago to San Francisco, California. Oh. You like to travel on a ship? Big boat? You do? Here's a ticket for the SS Monterey from San Francisco, California to Sydney, Australia. And in Australia, there's a clinic run by a sister, Elizabeth Kenny, and I have a darn good feeling that she's going to make you feel very good. Of course, there'll be a nurse to go along with him. You just have to get used to an empty place at the table, that's all. When he gets back, the boy will be sitting here in this chair that doesn't need crutches anymore.
Mr. Slade, I don't know what...
This is so beautiful. It almost brings me to tears, but watch this.
Whoops. Yeah. Oh, all right, that's enough of that. Enough.
She kisses him right on the mouth, and he's oops. No, let's. Okay, enough.
Before dinner. Merry Christmas. Let's go get your coat.
That's great because it also works in what the Ghost of Christmas Present said.
Oh, no, Mr. Slade. You should expect to be paid.
An empty seat at the table next year.
Like an executive, Thatcher. Vice president in charge of new projects is nothing to sneeze at. New projects? Yes, I was thinking of opening up the granite quarry down at Pennacock Hills. Bring a few hundred jobs into this town. And that's just the beginning.
So see, he doesn't just give him a raise, he promotes Thatcher and says, I'm going with your idea. And by the way, now your new job is just to come up with new ideas. Because...
What's going on?
You had it exactly right.
Mr. Reeves, it's what's coming off. A pot-bellied stove, a rocking chair, and a tabletop radio repossessed. By you. Grab something.
And see, because we saw the nastiness of him going into these people's homes on Christmas Eve and taking their stuff, we get the joy of bringing it all back. We've seen the pain in these people's eyes.
Mr. Reeves.
And now we see the joy that the generosity and the generous spirit that Christmas inspires can give.
It's acting very peculiar.
It gives this joy and this light back to these wonderful people.
Mrs. Reeves, a very Merry Christmas.
Thatcher, miles to go. Tie up the truck.
Now, see, that was even more powerful because of the time period they placed it in.
Yes, a few bindings of burr are ripped on top, but that's what they're in business for in the first place.
In business?
Yes, the Kendall Bookbinding Company of Cambridge. I spoke to Mr. Kendall himself. He's sending a man here on Monday. All books to be restored, good as new, guaranteed. Especially that book that your father gave you. Your grandfather. Never mind, I told him to take especially good care of that one, and I have something for you. A very Merry Christmas, Mr. Merriman.
Did you read that book, Mr. Slade?
Did I read that book? The Ghosts of Hell, the spirit of Christmas past, present, and future. Absolute, unadulterated. What was the word he used?
Humbug?
Mr. Thatcher, please.
That's another great little thing. It's a bit like Unbreakable, where they never quite use the term superhero. And, you know, he's like, what's the word? Humbug? And he refuses to say it himself. Almost as if to say, yeah, you think that we would undo all the hard work that we've done up to this point by me saying that word? We're just going to leave it there. Let another character say that word. I'm not saying it. He may be actually the only Scrooge who doesn't say the word humbug himself. Maybe there's another. I can't think of any. Even Guy Pearce says it a couple times. And here we come. Here we come to the ultimate payoff.
Thatcher, the other item on the truck, please.
And
what do you intend to do?
probably my favorite part of the film.
Come on and welcome to join us here. That's a very nice invitation. Thank you.
See, because there is no nephew Fred in this version. He's going to end up spending Christmas at the orphanage. The orphanage that gifted him the chance to have the life that he has.
Likes to get into fights. Uses his hands a lot.
That's right.
Likes to work with tools.
Yes, but always in a hostile way. How did you know that?
I understand that, boy.
Here we are, sir.
Good. Put them under the tree.
Now see, this is another thing, because it actually comes back around to maybe Brewster had a similar appreciation or an experience that gave him, not a supernatural experience like this, but an experience that gave him the same knowledge that Slade now has.
No.
You won't go?
Of course. Or maybe I can persuade him. Now, you listen to me, my fine friend. You've been invited to go for a ride, and I'm bigger than you are. So here are your choices. You can either leave with me smiling, or I'll pull you out of here kicking and screaming, which will not make a good impression on your friends. Now you have 10 seconds to make a decision.
That is just so badass, isn't it? I love that, because it gives the impression that you can just decide exactly what happened from that point on. Did he drag him out of there kicking and screaming? Did he go willingly? That look just said so much in just the shifting of Henry Winkler's eyes spoke volumes about what was about to happen, and you could take it in both ways.
Someone to oil the machines, make sure they're in working order, sweep up.
Now remember, he said he's going to open the granite quarry again, but he's also going to try to bring in several hundred jobs to their community. And now he comes back to the place he started off, the Brewster's factory, where everything started. And he wants... Remember, he told Helen that he had daydreamed about this place. He had dreamt about coming back here and owning the business that started it all.
With a promise, Harry. Oh, I promise they will be different.
Can we go now?
If you can tell me what this is.
It's a stick.
It's a stick. Well, my friend, you're not as smart as I thought you were. If all you see there is a stick, I could make this into anything I want it to be. To me, it is a baseball bat. It's a whip handle. Tame young lions, huh?
I'm just a big softy. I can't help it.
Taking me to new...
It took 30 or 40 years, but he learned the lesson that Brewster was teaching him.
Harry, you can make this into anything you want.
That even as an old man, he still is learning this lesson. That the rest of his life is something that he has the power to make into anything that he wants it to be. It's never too late. If you see the potential in what you have, rather than wishing for something more or being ungrateful for what you have. Years are precious. Life is precious. And it doesn't take a lot. Just seeing the potential in an old hunk of wood.
What are you going to make?
You'll see.
Is that a towel bar?
Chair leg. What are you making?
Oh, towel bar.
What a great little moment. I think I've said this already, but I love this production.
How's the food?
Takes its time.
Always was. You know, when you become my apprentice, you're gonna live with me. Very much like a foster son.
Is that really a towel bar?
Well, will be.
Doesn't look like a towel bar.
Well, give me a chance, boy. Give me a chance.
Aw, man, that's great. Yeah, it doesn't look like much now, and life may not look like much now, but give it a chance. You'll be surprised. And that was the Eric Till directed TV movie starring Henry Winkler as Benedict Slade, the wonderful retelling of the classic Christmas Carol story. And I mean, it's not just that it takes a new twist on it, it takes the story and turns it into something completely new, something that we'd never seen before. And I'm so grateful that my mom raised me on so many older things like this, things that she grew up with, because I have to imagine that this is not something that a lot of people would just happen upon. And so I hope that seeing this, maybe and sharing it with me, and if you've not seen it before yourself, I hope you'll go and check it out. It's on YouTube. You can watch the entire thing without me babbling over it. It is just one of the most heartfelt, beautiful renditions of A Christmas Carol I've ever seen. And it takes full advantage of the fact that Dickens did not want A Christmas Carol to be something stale that never changed. He wanted it to be something that would be revamped and redone and reimagined. And I think this one, it reimagines it perfectly for an American audience. And I can't say enough about it. Maybe I'll make another video about it in the future, because it's just something that since I was a child, I have loved so much. And I'm happy to share it with you. So, thank you everyone who watches. Have a wonderful, amazing, Merry Christmas.